We're currently close to the end of the 7th year roadmap, and all promises by the devs like loadouts, bots in custom matches or the solo queue improvements have been fulfilled. I decided to compile the biggest requests from the community in order to possibly predict what the devs will work on this year. Let's start with by far the most requested improvement, Bloodweb optimization. Now that it's easier than ever to earn blood points and to spend them, people have drastically noticed how long it takes to spend blood points into their characters. It is extremely time consuming, boring, and it even leads to some players not even spending their blood points due to how tedious it is. Players do not want to get the rank reset points because of how long it takes to spend 2 million blood points. And if you think it's bad on PC, imagine how bad it is for console players. The hardest part of getting a Prestige 100 is not getting the blood points, but actually spending them. I know that Behavior knows about how bad this problem is, and I am sure they're thinking into ways on how to improve this. Now, I will go for some suggestions I have seen and why I think Behavior is taking so long to implement them. The first thing I have seen is removing having to hold the interaction in order to get an item, and instead make it instantaneous. While this will indeed make the blood wave faster, I think Behavior does not want to do it in order to prevent players from complaining that they accidentally unlocked something they did not want to. Imagine missing out on a party streamer or a iridescent add-on because you were instantly clicking on the web without care. The second thing I have seen people suggest is making the blood web autocomplete. However, again, I find this has a big problem for the developers. How does the system decide what is worth to take and what isn't? People will complain that the BP spending of this system is not optimal, yet how does the game know what is optimal or not? There are way too many variables for this to be a possibility. Besides, it would make having to enter the blood web obsolete, and I doubt that the devs want that. The best thing to do as of now is to add small improvements to how the blood web is filled. Sometimes there is a glitch that speeds up the blood web animations and completely skips the level up prompt. So I think making that base kit would improve the feel of spending blood points considerably. They have also removed the mystery boxes that had a long animation to unlock, so that is also an improvement that they have already done. This is by far the biggest complaint in the game since it does affect every single player, and I can predict that Behavior has this high in their priority list as it honestly hurts their player retention as players want to play, not to spend blood points. Eruption Nerf. Another thing that I am sure they have their eyes on is an upcoming Eruption Nerf. I suspect that there must be a reason they are taking their time to do it, and it's because they want to do it right. Eruption is a complicated perk to nerf because the effect is so good, the only thing they can reasonably do is either gut the numbers and bring it back to the poor state it was in the past, or completely rework it so it doesn't hurt solo queue players as much. However, hot take, I think that Eruption is still strong even against Survive with Friends teams. Having to constantly tell when to drop off the generator and always predict the hits is absolutely boring for everyone, and the incapacitated effect is one of the worst effects that you can apply to survivors because of how much of a punishment it is for them. Either way, they have said that they will monitor the performance of different perks in the game, and Eruption is one of the most boring perks to go against. I would rather go back to the Hex Ruin, Pop Goes the Weasel meta, or the DMS Pain Resonance one, as it actually required me to chase survivors and hook them. Eruption is just way too easy compared to any of the gen regression perks they have ever introduced, and in the past, they even said that Pain Resonance was way too easy to acquire, which requires a hook.
Yeah, so Pain Resonance is pretty strong because you just hook a survivor on a Scourge hook and the most generator will
what was that? You just hook them on the Scourge hook.
So by that same logic, an Eruption Nerf is coming. Shrine expansion. It's been 5 years already and the shrine is still as bad as it was on day 1. Don't have free perks on the shrine because it's a complete waste of week. It is faster to prestige a single character than to get their perks in the shrine, so free perks should never appear on the shrine. We know that they have an algorithm that prevents license and new perks from appearing on the shrine, so use that same code and apply it to perks that belong to free base characters, and this would already improve the shrine so much. Despite how good this change would be to the players, and how I am completely sure that some developers want to have changes to the shrine and they are aware of how bad it is, there is a very low chance of them changing it at any point in the game's life cycle because people still end up paying for the perks they need. And since they are a business after all, they need money. More map improvements. With the upcoming Eyrie of Crows update, Behavior has proven that they are able to work and improve maps if they see that they are drastically favoring one of the players. Maps have always been a problem in the game, and I would go as far as to say that maps are by far the most impactful thing to the experience of a game. A good game can be ruined by having bad maps, and in this game, there are some maps that are extremely bad for one side of the players. Eyrie of Crows was one of the most problematic maps in the game, and I think the next map that should receive this treatment is the Garden of Joy. The God window should be reworked in some way or completely blocked, and the map should decrease in size as well. It is extremely easy to chain loops on this map compared to the rest of them, as every tile contains something very useful that can be used to waste the killer's time. And then, after all the pallets of the map have been drained, survivors still have very strong windows that they can abuse. It's a very easy map to play as a survivor and a very hard map to play as killer. Shattered Square is another map that I have seen people complain about, but I have to say that I am biased and I actually like the map a lot. I can definitely see the problems of it as it feels very big to play as and some of the loops are indeed strong. However, if I personally can ask for one map to be reworked, then I need Gas Heaven to be completely gone. It is, in my opinion, the worst map by far in the game, and I don't understand how people do not complain about it as much. The loops are very unfair for killers, and the extremely long car walls just make it so that the best play is to always hold W. The map is gigantic on top of that, and once the generators are done, it is impossible to defend the exit gates as they always spawn extremely far from each other. The map is just boring and unfun to play, and I hate it so much, and I've always hated it ever since it was introduced. I would go as far as to say that I would rather play exclusively on Garden of Joy than play on any of the map in Out of Haven Realm just because of the chances of me getting Gas Heaven. I despise this map so much. And notice how I did not mention any licensed map yet. That is because I will focus on this topic in a future video talking about exclusively licensed maps. And that is it for the biggest priority changes. Now let's talk about some changes that are needed for the game, but they won't impact the entire player base and instead focus on some niche problems that the game has. Twins quality of life changes. Behavior has promised that Twins would be the next killer to receive changes to their power. It has been almost a year since then, so it's pretty clear that this is a complex killer to balance. Unlike what I have seen people ask for, I would rather they introduce quality of life changes to their power and not change it itself. Twins is a powerful character, and if they're going to change her power to a new one, I would rather they just introduce another character instead. Don't make the same mistake as they did with Freddy in the past and just make the twins feel better to play as. There was a bug in the PTB that I would honestly rather they just keep in the game or make base kit. Make her add-ons better and more fun to use, as everyone is just using Toy Sword because of how good it is. Make Toy Sword base kit, change the animation for Victor after he downs a survivor to something that fits because it is currently terrible. However, again, I understand why Behavior is taking so long to change them, and that is because of how complicated they are. If they make them too good, Twins have the potential to become the next obnoxious Sadako full condemned build, as they are the most powerful when they start slugging or camping. And I am going to say another hot take, but I don't think even after the rework for Twins, they're going to be any more popular. Twins have a very specific playstyle that make it not that much attractive for the rest of players, and to be completely fair, their visual design is just not very appealing either. Despite how bad Trickster is, people still play him because he is hot and has good cosmetics. Twins are not, and with the bad reputation they have, I don't think even a rework would save them. I think a character with a similar fate to them is Aurelion Sol from League of Legends. Addon reworks for characters that need it. Pyramid Head and Nemesis need add-on reworks as soon as possible. Some other characters like Freddy, Artist or Slinger also have very boring add-ons, but I will focus on Pyramid Head. There is a very low chance of them getting one because they are licensed characters, and I think they need to have permission before they do so. For that reason, I think their add-ons are so boring in the first place. Pyramid Head and Nemesis have some of the most boring add-on choices in the entire game, which make them feel exactly the same on every single match. Characters like Myers, Hag, Wraith or Doctor have different playstyles and effects with their add-ons that make it so that their matches have way more variety. With Pyramid Head, it's either the range add-ons or add-ons that do not alter the gameplay at all. With Nemesis, at least we have the speed add-ons for the zombies and the undetectable one. I strongly believe that having a good variety of add-ons make a character feel way better to play as and against, as it changes their feel every time you start a match, and it also increases the amount of builds they can do. Pyramid Head is one of the strongest killers in the game, and he is still strong even without strong busted add-ons like Blight, so I do fear for Pyramid Head becoming S tier once Behavior adds some busted, eerie or very rare add-ons to his kit. It might even be the reason why they are not changing his add-ons on the first place, because he is already a perfect killer balance and they do not want to ruin it in any way. Custom game improvements. The bots that they have added in the game is an amazing change that I never expected to come to DBD, and they have promised to add killer bots in the future, but since they are so complicated to do, they are not in the game yet, understandably. However, I think they should not stop it there. Add the ability for all players to have any character unlocked on custom games, so they can try it against bots and see if they enjoy the playstyle or not before buying them. This could be implemented in the store with a try option anytime you preview a character you have not unlocked yet. Another thing on my personal wishlist is for them to add a way to put exactly the variant of the map you want for test purposes. I doubt this is an easy thing to implement, and admittedly, besides content creators, not many people will use that option. And now, for my personal petitions that I wish they add to the game. Make ultra rare cosmetics feel ultra rare. There is absolutely no reason to pay the same amount for the Baba Yaga skin than the Krampus one. One of them has custom music, custom effects, custom voices, and the only thing missing is a custom power. Something that I also wish for Behavior to finally find a solution to, because it would increase the value of all of their skins drastically. Krampus feels underwhelming, and at minimum, he should receive the Christmas lobby music as his own, just to make him more unique. And I wish they made his voice more monstrous. Minotaur Oni has the same problem. If they can make a Greek lobby music for both him and the Blight Ultra Rare and for every single cosmetic in the Greek collection, that would also make them feel more unique. In fact, with Hunk, they have also proven that they can add exclusive animations for the characters, so they could also add them to the rest of Ultra Rares. I still think that the majority of Ultra Rares are still scams, like the Sadako one, but at least that cosmetic is kinda pay to win, so I'll let it slide. Family friendly toggle. Now I know this is a very ridiculous thing to add, but with how bad YouTube currently is with their rules and the drastic change that not only I, but many other content creators are starting to do in order to go around the new guidelines, I think if Behavior could add an accessibility option to remove the red liquid coming out of the survivors, or even censor it in some way to hook survivors, that would be amazing for content creation. Now, I know again that this is a very stupid thing, and that's why I rated it so low, because either way, there is a chance of YouTube going back on their guidelines and making them more flexible to violent games. We will have to see based on how the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game performs on YouTube, and if those videos end up getting demonetized or not. Complete overhaul of the settings menu. Back when I started the game, I felt like the settings were very underwhelming compared to the rest of games. The only toggle is the graphic settings, and that's it basically. You cannot change the brightness nor the shadows, remove the FPS limit or VSync, change the textures or anti-aliasing. it's all stuck on the same option, and the funny thing is that it's extremely easy to implement, as there is literally a file in the game files where you can manually turn VSync off or customize your own settings as you wish. I let it slide in the past because DBD was an indie game and still fresh, but now after so many years of development work put into it, I think making the settings menu an actual settings menu instead of how limited it is now would help making the game feel more polished than it is now. It's unfair that PC players have to interact with the game files in order to remove the FPS cap. No game should need their players to tinker with the game files, as it all should be already included in the settings menu. It's also unfair that some players use filters that are not available in some TVs. At minimum, there should be a brightness setting added in order to give more options to players inside the game. My final change that I don't think they will ever make a reality is to add a FOV slider to the game that also works with survivors. Shadowborn is a perk that literally just increases your field of view, but at the cost of one perk slot. Now a higher FOV is an objective, positive and gameplay advantage over someone that has a lower one. Every single pro in every game that allows you to change your FOV will increase it to the max in the option settings. So in other words, this change is basically giving one free perk for all characters in the game. However, out of all the changes in this video, I think this is the least likely to happen, as a low FOV is something the devs have intended and built the game around. And those are some of the suggestions and changes that I believe DBD needs. Do you have any other yourself? Please let me know in the comments, and please check out this video as well. Thank you for watching.